Fuck Drake. Am I right, folks? Welcome to Braves Talk, everybody. As always, it's the Iceman Matt Freites. Across from me, the OG, the coach, Brad, Rick Powell, and somewhere in the metaverse is the spirit of meta. How's it going, fellas?
Iceman doing well, my friend. Yes, fuck Drake, fuck Drake, fuck Drake. We could say it a million times over. It's so funny how beating Drake in general, going on the road, beating Drake the way that we did can sort of, to some degree, for a day or two, wash away what happened, um, you know, last week last week against UIC. So anyways, we are, we're back to our winning ways, here to talk about both games, but obviously it's more fun to talk about the W and where we're headed from here. And Joey, you did not jinx the boys at all.
Yeah, actually, I
No,
want
sir.
to address that directly to you, Joey, because if you go back in the archives, we were just talking about this. October 2022 is the first time Brad and I ever podcasted together, or at least as a unit. And we have been the kiss of death for literally every hot team. And that is across the board in all sports. It is not you. It is 100% us. So you are welcome back anytime.
Not me.
Not yet.
You're guilty by association.
I was going to say osmosis. It's going to happen at some point. You're going to be
Say,
like, I really like this team. And
I accept no blame for lack of effort, communication, and execution. Boom.
Well, okay. So this is the other thing too, right? Like enthusiasm about the team and looking at them logically, looking at them and saying, okay, this is a game that we can win and here's how we can win, because they don't play to that standard, is not on Joey. I mean, I get the superstition part because as sports fans and sports people, we are superstitious in general, but it's not him. I mean, we're not out there playing.
Right.
Thank goodness.
We got two back-to-back games that we could kind of talk about. One thing in particular, and the first one is the unfortunate one that we got our butts kicked, and that is, obviously the inconsistency, which has been talked to death. Not just by us, by virtually everybody. Even Coach Wardle. It's just inconsistent, and this is the team that we have. But two games back to back. One, we responded not so good. In fact, horribly. The other, we responded marvelously. And that is getting socked in the mouth and getting back up. We need the old Rocky to his son speech going on here. But, really, seriously.
Rocky 5?
Or something like
No,
that.
Rocky 6.
When you can take a punch, get back up and, take care of business. But the first one, UIC, we got punched, but good. And there was absolutely no response in game.
At home, too.
At home. And Drake punched us in the mouth at their place. I don't think they got over a 9-point lead on us. But they took a lead. I mean, we had a lead on them, and then they came back and, because what was it? Wasn't it like 10-0, 11-0? Or something like that, and then, or no, it was back and forth. But we had a bit of a lead on them, and then they came back and took that 8-9-point lead on us, and then, which was, punching them off to us. But we responded, and we responded in the first half. Took the lead, and then maintained it and increased it some. We kept giving it back. After we got up to 18 or so, kept giving it back to them, but. We responded positively.
Well, maybe what Coach Wardle has to do is, I don't know, find some mercenaries to get in the gym during the week and beat the boys up a little bit and put their backs against the wall and motivate them to come out and play well in the next game, because they do seem to bounce back pretty well. We'll give them that. I mean, we haven't strung together outside of the Belmont-Murray stretch. I feel like we haven't strung together consecutive really bad performances. And I mean, we played well in stretches in Nashville, just not well enough, long enough to win that game. Murray was a different story, but 2 losses in a row nonetheless. And, now we're getting that again, Jekyll and Hyde up and down, which again, we've talked about a ton. It just like, you wish that we could just figure it out. And I know that we'll talk more about that later as far as, Coach Wardle and what they're doing. And Joey mentioned, Alex's breakout game, and I can only imagine it's because of how much time he gets to practice shooting in Drake's arena compared to Carver. would be the reason he shoots so well. But uh,
And he got a good night's sleep.
I'm sorry, I just can't let that go. It just drives me nuts. I feel like we have actually heard it in a while. At least I haven't. So maybe I should just let that one die. But Caillou though, man, like what a performance by him, which was excellent. And we needed him because Meta was struggling a little bit, I thought, early on. And Kai came in and gave us a spark when we needed it. And he was a big part of kind of making that run and turning, shifting the tide of the game. And now we'll see, can he string together a couple of good performances? I wouldn't say we could or should expect what he did on Saturday night every night, but if he can come and give something close to that consistently, that's going to be huge for this team.
I mean, if this team is going to rally, if this team is going to show any moxie as we get to the home stretch here, a win like that, right? You're on the road. Now, they've been very inconsistent on the road, right? At home, we talked about how they held serve at home. They end up losing at home to UIC. Then they go on the road, beat Drake, and they have to come back and they have to show a lot of grit. That's the kind of seminal moment that they need to capitalize on, is taking a win against the team that we all hate and doing it in the way that they did with guys that we didn't see coming. That's where they need to capitalize on it. And that's what they've not been able to do all season long, at least when I've been watching.
Right. Yeah. We'll definitely need to do that against Valparaiso here coming up tomorrow night. But, because they've been playing a lot of teams tough. They're similar to Indiana State, just haven't been able to finish. They lost by 1 or 2 at home to Belmont here recently, but they've been giving, people fits. Even some of the upper echelon teams. And back to Caillou real quick. I know there's several people that might, don't shoot that three. He came in shooting a 35% rate. Not on high volume, but still, that's pretty decent, especially for a big guy. If he can shoot it and hit it, he didn't start off very good. He was 0 for 5, but I'm like, hey, if you can hit it, just keep shooting it. But let's see if you can make it. Now that we've seen that he can, and his play the other night, different than all the other appearances we've seen, to me anyway, it appears like he played like the lights have come on. He doesn't look lost like he has, before, and at least in the game the other night. And we need Meta out there too. Meta's got an issue of being able to finish inside, and he should be able to take that ball up strong to the hole, flush it, or kiss it off the glass. As low as he gets, he's missing way too many bunnies. And some he's missed, kind of unguarded. But yeah.
But that being said, he has gotten much better at finishing than he was 2 years ago. Even like he's made huge strides in improving across the board.
Just his overall play is, even from last year, he's gotten better. And he started this track last year. He started really playing good, in February. And he had probably the best month of basketball was February last year. He started, mid-January this year, where he started, the last few games he's just come on. And he didn't have a double-double, but he wasn't far off.
Yeah, he got it going. He got to go and help the team. And we were talking a little bit before we started about, I think before you even joined us, we were talking about how, I think you have to look at this and again, like put NIL aside, I guess for now, because everybody's getting paid something. But if you're just looking at it from a pure scholarship perspective, like I think Meta's been well worth the scholarship, all things considered. And, I think he's a above average, good, mid-major big man. And sure, does he have deficiencies? Absolutely. Like anybody that comes and plays at a program at Bradley's level is going to have deficiencies in their game somewhere that, yeah, of course you can work on and improve on. But where he's come, how far he's come from where he started is huge for this team. And like you said, he's just going to keep improving. Like I think that he has so much room for improvement still, and it'll take time, but he'll get there. And and I think you talked about, and whether it was Kai or or how Alex did. I thought I heard, and I'm not an expert obviously on the inner workings of the Bradley coaching staff, but I kind of was under the impression that Brian Jones was the guy that sort of coordinated the offense a little bit, if you will. But I thought I heard Wardle in the postgame mention one of the other coaches' names, and of course I can't remember which one it was, but I thought he mentioned one of the other coaches as being like in charge of the offensive game plan in the game. And so, it kind of makes you wonder if they tried a few different things, or maybe they've just realized they have to make things really simple. Maybe this team just needs to have to think less and execute more, and just I, I don't know. I mean, those are things as a obviously I've never coached at that level. I never will in any sport, but as a coach, when your team starts to struggle, especially if you feel like they're struggling to play fast and play with confidence, you look at ways to simplify the system so that they have to think less. You do what you can to try to help them. And perhaps that's what's happening. Or, we're in the process of seeing that shift in philosophy a little bit. I have no idea, of course, but, it wouldn't be a bad idea from where I sit.
Because we don't have the core. Now, if you had the core players like we had last year and you bring in an entire new staff, then I think you have problems. But when you get where you got a bunch of new players and you got new coaching staff, it'll put gray hairs on Wardle fast, because you got all these new coaches that you're trying to teach into your style, your system, your culture. And because there's only one assistant coach that's been here a while, 5 years, and that's Mike Black. I don't know if that's the guy you're referring
No,
to.
I don't think so.
But Brian Jones is the guy that takes care of the big guys. Try and work on their footwork and that. I don't know about the others, as far as what their particular duties are, on court and practice. Wardle has a big hand in it, especially this year.
Well, you mentioned that you wanted to talk about the job that you feel like Wardle's done this season. And I think that, despite what you might read in the group chat on X, I agree. I do think that all things considered with this roster, all the new faces, all the new coaches, and the coaching staff and Coach Wardle has done an excellent job. And you can maybe argue that he's overachieved with this team that he has, because there's certainly been times where he's had better rosters on paper from a talent perspective. And like one that comes to mind that I mentioned before we started, as you were just getting ready, is, the 2020, the COVID team, that had, Sean East and Elijah Childs was back, and was it Terry Nolan and some of those guys? That was a really talented basketball team that just, there was obviously there was the off the court issues that really kind of sent things off the rails. And of course, unique circumstances with COVID and going to play 2 in a row at places and stuff like that, like super weird, no fans. But that team was
Everybody had to go with that.
Yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, like, that's a team that I think that you could probably make an argument on paper was more talented than this group, maybe, at least at the top end. And,
Yeah, but there's a lot more to be said when all is said and done. I mean, you can bring in the most talented player, but if they don't fit your culture, don't fit in with the rest of the team, which may have been, I don't know, I'm not an inside guy to know that sort of stuff, but some of them players I may think may not have fit in overall with the style that, Coach Wardle and the staff had in place at that point in time. And that's why a lot of things didn't work out. I think there was a lot of, not necessarily dissension, but when you bring in a bad egg, even if it's just one, to blend in with the rest of them, there's issues that can happen.
Let me just say this, though. In today's college basketball world, and just college athletics in general, big time college athletics, the idea of culture is so much harder to cultivate and to sustain, because you can't bank on having guys there to sort of get used to the idea of what Bradley basketball is and sort of learn and grow with it. Like Meta is sort of an outlier in that this is his 3rd season that we've at least been covering him. And I think if you look at the Valley overall, Bradley is probably the closest thing to building a culture, because there's at least an identity. I think identity is more prevalent now than like a culture, because as you said, Rick, you can bring in any guy that you want, but if they aren't the right fit, like it's done, right? You can't just sort of continue to build on that. And some of the other guys that you have that do work could be gone in the next year. And so I think that when you watch this team, they're inconsistent, they're frustrating at times, you see the ceiling, But at the same time, you know that there is an identity to what Brian Wardle is trying to do. And that's something that I don't see even at the highest level of college basketball because coaches turn over so often.
Right now, here's another issue along the same lines with the transfer portal and such. Players now are going to have a responsibility within themselves, to come into a place, whether it be a Bradley or any, it could be Duke. If you're not going to work yourself into the culture, you've got to work a little harder to get along with everybody, to bring yourself to show your tools as a player with everybody else. So it's not just the staff, the team, the coaching style of Coach Wardle, his culture. Players coming in have to adjust as well, more so than what they ever used to.
That's
in my
true.
opinion.
That's
In my
true.
opinion.
But in some ways, they're also like possibly auditioning for their next place too. Like that's how volatile the transfer portal is. And especially at this level where you find a gem and it's like, he may only be here 1 year.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, is you wanna develop these guys to make your team right now as good as possible, but fully being aware of the fact that you're gonna put this work in and they may very well move on to somewhere else. And that has to be to feel like you are functioning as sort of the minor leagues for the big boys has gotta be really tough. Like, I cannot imagine really how difficult it must be to coach in that environment, especially if you're it's one thing, I guess, like, and not to like, Valpo's playing very well, and we're gonna have to be, on top of it tomorrow night to take care of that. So I'm not throwing this team, this particular Valpo team under the bus, but like at a Valpo, I think you sort of expect, it's sort of like let's see if we can catch lightning in a bottle. We know our best players are gonna leave. Like, there's really not much guessing to it. It seems pretty clear cut what's gonna happen. And, Roger Powell, I think, has done an outstanding job under those circumstances, especially when they don't have the resources and the facilities compared to the rest of the league. And so at a place like Bradley, where there is sort of an expectation, there is, the culture we talked about, there's a history of winning. And, where I think as a coach, you probably feel more pressure to try to sustain that. And to do it in this environment has got to be insanely difficult.
And you get attached to players when you're a coach. I mean, especially if you see their progress, right? You see their progression, you see them getting better. And it feels like I have to assume at times that, man, I put a lot of work into this guy, a lot of work into this kid, and man, do they look so much better. And my reward for that is they're now playing for a Big Ten school. I can't imagine how that feels because in the olden times, not even 10 years ago, that guy would stay with you and you'd be able to see him continue to ascend.
Yeah, but I'm going to go. There's going to be coaches out there that's really going to hate that. And I'm sure, to a degree, even Coach Wardle does not like that. But there is also a part, and I would probably bet my next Social Security check on
That's a cool
that.
$120.
That yeah, really. That I bet Brian, and I'll reference Rink Mast. Rink Mast made a move to Nebraska, one to up level of competition. And I believe Wardle knew that Rink was that good
Sure.
enough that move was actually an upgrade. And I don't think there's not going to be a coach worth their salt that's going to, they're going to not want that guy to leave because they want to do well, with them. And, but I don't think we're at the position any longer where coaches are going to be developing players for 3 and 4 years.
Well,
No,
there's
that's what I'm saying.
there's two scenarios from that there's the Rink Mass scenario that makes a lot of sense, right? He had put his time into Bradley. It made a lot of sense for him to go try to compete at that level, and it's obviously worked out. He's almost getting a second career
I
in
know.
Nebraska because he's still there.
He's still there?
Which is great. Yes.
Wow, I was
Which
thinking
is-
about him
yeah.
today because I saw Nebraska play, and I was like, I wonder if he's still there. He can't be. I mean, I was like, he
He
can't
didn't
be.
do. He played against Illinois. He didn't do great. I looked at the box score. He didn't do all at once.
But so you have that, and then in contrast, I think you have like Connor Hickman, which was probably, I think, if and I don't know, I have no idea. I don't know Connor. I don't know anyone that knows Connor, but I feel like if someone were to ask him, he would be very honest. He would be like, "Man, probably shouldn't have made that move to Cincinnati."
Or I think it's
And
Zeke too. Zeke left for Rhode Island, then ended up coming back, right?
he did, and I don't know. Maybe he regretted coming back. I have no idea.
I don't know,
but
but you see,
it's
he tried to make the move, and it was like, yeah, maybe that
yeah.
wasn't the best idea.
Sure. I mean, I don't think he regretted coming back. Obviously, I mean, it seemed like a lot of us. I think I include myself in this. Have kind of sour grapes over the fact that he, opted to not play in the NIT or
Yeah.
whatever. But like, it is what it
Well, he
is.
had a so-so year the year he came back. There's nothing
It wasn't what we hoped he
Yeah,
would.
there
It
was
might have been
nothing
better had he
super
stayed, though.
stellar.
Like, that's the point, is that had he
Yeah,
stayed and continued
I
to
think he
progress.
would have, because he was up and coming when he left. He was really starting to shine, and then he left for the year, and he started out well, and then kind of went downhill for whatever reason, and then got taken out of the starting lineup and came off the bench. But and then I think he struggled some here too. But once he got back, he may have had a few games that he was a standout. But
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, we'll see. I mean, we have a lot of basketball to play. Who knows what could happen? But like, I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens to this
Well-
roster, because there is so much young talent that still has a lot of meat on the bone, I guess, in their careers, and so there's going to be opportunities for some of these guys,
we only got 8 games left.
and we'll see, kind of what happens, and
As close as we are, yeah, that's plenty.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. I obviously hope we can keep them all, or maybe there's a few that we wouldn't mind. I don't want to say, whatever. I'm sure there's a few that fans wouldn't, their hearts wouldn't break if they moved on or whatever. But that's just those are the breaks.
Are we talking
and that's the
about
way it goes.
fans or Kev? Because I feel like
well.
Kev would just get rid of the whole team.
Clean house.
That's right. But here's the thing. 8 games left. I realize that's not a lot, but I still have hope, because I've seen the highs of this team, and it's there. I don't know if you can just find consistency, so it's not like they're going to catch it all of a sudden, but I have hope still. I do.
All going to be matchups. I mean, some teams we match up very well with, other teams we don't. That's why there's been, to me, so many different.
But the problem is we
outcomes.
match up so poorly with the 2 best teams.
Yes.
Well,
That's a problem.
yeah, but a lot of times, I mean, then it comes down to, because if we just take that hit in the mouth and then get our stuff together and play, compete. If we just, play competitive and don't give up, because like the Murray State game, you just see us give up.
But you can't. I mean, at this level, if you're serious about competing for championships, your standard operating procedure can't be to go out there, wait for the wake up call, and then start playing well.
True. I mean, they need to come out and play and compete for 40 minutes.
Because good teams will bury you. Drake is not a good team, so they didn't take advantage of that when they had us down a little bit. A good team will put you away, i.e., Murray State.
Well, tomorrow will give us a little,
UIC.
yet another thing to look at. We'll see how we play against them, because I mean, they've been giving all the other good teams runs for their money. So I mean, if we can win, compete, if we blow them out, I mean,
just win, dude. I don't even
yeah,
care.
I mean,
don't
yeah,
care
just
what it
I mean,
looks like.
we just want to win.
Just win.
Yeah, there's at this point, style points have no bearing on this conversation whatsoever.
No.
Win by 1, I don't give a shit.
No, just have one more than the
just
other.
Just got to win. Sometimes it's more educational for a team to win by 1 than it is to win by 30.
I mean, they're 8-4 and in a logjam for second place in the Valley. Given everything that we've just talked about, given all the inconsistency, given all the frustration, they're still there. I mean,
and still haven't played a top 5 team, or haven't beaten a top 5 team.
That's true too, correct? But still,
which is interesting.
Patriots haven't beat anybody good, and they're in the Super Bowl, so Bradley can win Arch for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they certainly
there's several
can.
teams that can, I think, could do it.
This might be setting up to be one of the most interesting and exciting March Madness
tournaments
in a really long time.
There's something about not having a front runner every so often. I mean, it is nice to have the mountaintop to climb where you know who you have to beat, and especially when it's the same teams every year and you're kind of just jockeying for position, that rivalry. But when there's openness, it is kind of nice, a little bit. It would be better if we were in a little bit of a better position, but you get my point. It is like anybody can win this, and you say it every year, but this year it actually might be true, except for Evansville and except for Indiana State.
If Belmont plays like they did, the other night against Murray, no, they're heads and tails. We would look at them being heads and tails, the absolute favorite to take this thing. But and Murray's good, and that loss may have really took a lot of wind out of their sails. So we'll have to see how they finish.
They've lost 4 in a row, and we'll see how they respond. But it is kind of nice to finally, see, as much as it stinks right now because of the way Bradley's playing. You wish that we were, like I said, we're only a couple, we're tied, I guess, technically with Murray. We're 2 games back of Belmont. We're right in the mix of things, but it feels like we're miles behind them in terms of like how we're playing, which maybe not Murray recently, but you get, I don't know, maybe you don't get what I'm saying, but it doesn't matter. I think
you
it's
feel
nice.
Trauma. You feel PTSD from how we have looked in our worst moments. And when you compare it to what we've looked like against them, but look, there's more sample sizes to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And like kind of what I'm getting at is the Valley, I think, is like, it's nice to see that the conference is getting a payoff on their investment into Belmont and Murray.
Yes.
Like they are what we thought they were, right? And like they, which is nice to see.
We got that value out of them 2 teams, and we're still looking for it from Valpo.
And that's and really like just from an objective conference perspective. Now, granted, I don't know if either of these teams are really, they're not on the level of like, some of the Drake teams over the last 5-6 years or whatever, in terms of like, at least in my perspective, and not to give Drake their flowers by any means, but it's nice though that you can have you can lose a coach and lose talent like Drake did, and there's someone there, to step up and fill the void, to keep the league competitive at a high level. And like when Loyola lost, when Loyola left, here comes Drake, and we've been in the mix every year too. And Drake, they've kind of fallen off as they've lost, roster talent and coaches. Well, specifically this year lost a coach, and here's Belmont and Murray surging into 2 programs that have some national notoriety when it comes to basketball success, which I think helps.
Yes, and of course you want to see the Valley look strong overall, because in a world where mid-majors mean nothing, or at least seemingly mean nothing to the national landscape and all that, there is pride that comes from being a fan and being a part of this, and you want to see the league look good. Like, it was nice to see Bradley on CBS Sports the other day. It just was nice because it's like, oh, I can now say, hey, you can go watch this right now, and you can see what Valley basketball looks like. And I think that that's always a good thing. So the more solid the league looks, I think they're better off in general. And maybe nationally nobody cares, but there is a section of college basketball fandom that does care.
Yep. Yeah, and we had the performance from Alex. We had Caillou's performance, which was all season performance for him to date. Let's hope that continues. We'll see. And then Meta was solid. I mean, he was fairly consistent. I can imagine if he'd have made even half of the ones, the baskets he missed, where he'd been at, he'd have been up in the teens.
I feel like we just got a time machine and traveled back 15 minutes in conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I should also tell you as well that you guys,
we'll see.
You guys were lagging, and Brad, you were drinking your drink and got stuck. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a great thumbnail. But you unstuck.
Chug,
so we're good.
Chug.
Yeah. It was great.
Was the audio coming through at least?
It was, for sure. But you were stuck like this, and your dad was just rambling on, which is pretty much the thumbnail for the show.
So anyways, though, talking about consistency and seeing what we can get moving forward, we have the week ahead here. Obviously tomorrow night the Braves host Valparaiso, and when we've talked about being a definitely not one to overlook, Bradley can't afford to overlook anyone at this point. And then a trip Friday night to Cedar Falls to take on Northern Iowa, who seems to be fading a little bit.
They did have a comeback win the other night, or not a comeback from who'd they play? I forgot. But they did win the other night at home.
Those things.
But I mean, and I think it was Valparaiso. Come think about it,
doesn't matter.
But yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, they did end up winning the other night, but they had lost like 4 or 5 in a row themselves. So I don't know if their confidence is down. Maybe they're going to start hey, it's February, we got to start kicking it in gear. But there's still several games behind us.
So
to move up.
Keys to victory against Valpo, Dad.
Oh gosh, play defense. Who's their guy?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, just keep
Be
everybody
better.
in
Score
check.
more points. That's all we need.
Yeah, rebound. Bully needs to be bully. Alex needs to hit those shots. He doesn't have to hit 9 for 9.
Sure, he does.
Oh, to be great, it'd be nice, yes, but I mean, we just need some consistency. I mean, between him and get Bully, get Wheeler to hit some.
I really like Montana. My good, I like him a lot. I mean, he's kind of like.
I was telling you guys all summer long, Montana. I mean, I even went as far, and I knew that wasn't going to happen, but I says it wouldn't surprise me at all if he came in and ended up being our starting point guard, and move Bully over to the 2. But I mean, that is what it is. I mean, it's good to have both of them, and sometimes even both of them on the floor at the same time, but because they're really pretty good.
And then Friday night, obviously, Northern Iowa has always been a difficult place to play for the Braves. I feel like, the matchup between the 2 elder statesmen in the Valley. I know what's his name. Casey Alexander's been at Belmont for a while, but as far as like
Jacobson,
no, I know that, but I'm saying I think that as far as in the Valley, Jake and Wardle have been are the 2 guys that have been around in conference the longest. So. Obviously, I feel like it's always going to be a good, it's going to be a well-contested game.
Well, we bring out everybody's fan base,
which is pretty cool, right? I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, I think that,
their gym wasn't. Yeah, I don't know if it was even half full the other night.
As a Notre Dame football fan, what I always say is that you're going to get everyone's best shot every time out. Like, nobody's ever going to overlook you. No one's ever going to take that game for granted. Like, every game you play at someone else's place is their biggest home game of the year, right? When you're Notre Dame. And obviously this is a little different, right? Different levels, but Bradley is similar to that. Right? When Bradley comes to town, it's one of the biggest games on the schedule and that people have circled, and where there's people turning out and everything else.
And it doesn't matter if we're in last place in the league, and
I'm sure it certainly doesn't hurt that we've been in the top of the Valley, for the last several seasons. So,
well, that's like now Drake. I don't know if you knew it, Matt, but Drake and Bradley are 2 of the oldest teams in the league. As far as that's why they're a natural rival.
Oh yeah.
In fact, Rachel had mentioned, asked me, says Drake a big rival? I says, oh yeah. And about that time, that's when the announcer said, yeah, these are the 2 oldest teams of the Valley right here going at each other.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, they're every bit as rival as the Illinois State.
Yeah, it might be a stretch.
Yeah.
No,
Speaking of old, though, question is Jacobson just sort of going to be there until he decides not to be, or is there?
He will be.
Or his window's closed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like, can they afford to just keep status quo and let him sit there forever? Or you know what I mean? Like, is it? Do you ever think about moving on so that you can try to jumpstart the program and get back to the top of the Valley, or is it just?
I think
he can walk away whenever he wants.
He's good enough. It's just been he's had some very, very good players come through, and I think he's gonna get the recruiting trail. He's gonna be just like Wardle, getting used to this the portal situation. He's got to do the same thing.
Well, I think him and Wardle are similar in the fact that they require a very specific player for their system and what they do and their culture, and he's done a great job at finding those guys. For sure. And I was actually talking to somebody about this Saturday. We had the same exact conversation we're having right now about Jacobson, because we were talking about Wardle a little bit too. And there will come a time, I think, where it's like, once you're here long enough, it's like you just ride it out, right? I mean, at Bradley, and I think Jacobson's in that boat where I think there was probably a time,
there was a window where he could have taken a jump. Yes, I agree.
And he chose not to. And I think that window, honestly, is probably closed a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying that there couldn't be like a lower level P5 job that might open up but why would you leave where he's at in the situation he's in? Not that it's like the greatest situation in the world, but it's certainly not terrible in the Valley. And like, why would you leave that to go rebuild, I don't know, like
somebody that's going to be in the middle of the pack,
Ole Miss or something, like
no matter where you go. But yeah.
Wardle's
Jake
kind of
at
in the same
Northern.
boat, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
That
think
window,
he's
if
getting there.
it's open, it's like just cracked. Because I feel like teams
There
that he's
may
had
only
prior,
be a few bigger jobs for him to be able
that's
to
what I
go
mean.
to.
It's like
we've talked
anything
about
else,
this. I think
anything
fit
else
matters
may
so
be a
much
it
parallel
does.
move.
It does. I
with
mean,
him both ways, not just schools with him, but I think he was looking for specific things, which you
for
should. You
sure.
shouldn't just take any job that comes along just because they're going to pay you more money, and I respect that.
I agree. And it's funny you say that because, Bad, do you remember when Josh Schertz randomly came up on my Facebook as people you may know? And I was like, what? Why would I ever friend the former coach of Indiana State? Well, I looked at the Billikens today and I was like, well, you know what? Hot damn, that guy can coach. Because they are
Yeah.
like 21-1 or something crazy like that. And it's like fit does matter. Remember, there was a little bit of hesitancy. Would it work? And well, it seems like it's working.
He was one that like I just had, and I'm not an X's and O's guy. I've said a million times, but like I didn't have really any doubt in my mind that he was going to be successful at St. Louis. He just seems like one of those coaches that he's a good enough coach that he will be successful wherever he goes if he provided the right resources and things like that. Not that he had I'm sure that he wasn't overflowing in resources at Indiana State, but
no, that was a good team too. It's a
yeah,
real shame that they didn't get to go to the tournament. Real shame.
well, and maybe that's the recipe for success, man. Like what McCollum did at Drake last year. It's like you win some titles in D2 or D3 and you just bring your team with you. You already have a system in place and
Where did he go?
get after it. McCollum's at Iowa.
That's right. Are they any good?
I looked the other day.
And what about?
And I thought they were like middle of the pack, and DeVries is at Indiana.
Yes.
I will pull up
my
the
thoughts on
standings
Indiana
real quick.
basketball. I don't need to rehash that take again.
Let's see here. I peek at it once in a while because I don't really follow it.
Actually, Indiana football winning the national title is so good for my Indiana basketball take. But go ahead.
So Iowa is unranked, and they sit at 16-5 and 6-4 in the Big Ten, middle of the pack.
All right.
And
I mean,
Indiana sits just behind them, 15-7, 6-5. So they're both sitting, middle of the pack, upper half of the middle of the pack, if you will, just behind, a couple spots behind all the ranked teams in the Big Ten.
In theory, Indiana's the job that's easier to be good at, right? Because they should have more resources to throw at you than Iowa.
Sure. Well, unless they're all getting allocated to the football program now.
That's true now. That's true.
I wonder that because I was talking to my cousin Alex, who's a big baseball fan, and he really follows Vanderbilt baseball. And I said, hey, what I wonder is if like their football success, if they're able to sustain it, will impact how well funded the baseball program is. And yeah, sure, I'm sure you obviously have baseball people funding the baseball program, alums that are in the big leagues and things like that. But football, at the end of the day, you can put all the money you want into the baseball program. It's not going to generate more money as a result. Where you pour money into football and basketball, your return, not for the university, your return on the investment is tremendous. And as an individual, I guess you just get to say, hey, I helped make that happen.
That's true.
And probably get all the perks that come along with it.
But since Rick looks bored, let's bring it back to Bradley here a little bit. But I do want to say that I think that in spirit of what we were just talking about, I think that Brian Ward will be successful here for as long as he stays here. Like I just think that he has what he brings to the table, how he coaches, the culture, the identity, I think works. And he's able to bring in consistently players that seem to be able to do that. And I think this year is one of his best coaching jobs ever. And it's still unfinished. There's still 8 games to go. So there's 2 more left. I don't know when we're going to do a show next, but hopefully by that point, the Braves will be 2-0 and we'll be able to come back here and celebrate. And hopefully more folks can join us. And what I really want is the Braves to get some momentum so people can start coming back here and feel real good. And Joey can come back on here and not feel so bad.
We want to be doing so well that last game in February, or is it March 1st?
Whatever. The home finale against
the home
Murray
finale against Murray
matters.
We want Carver filled, and we want it to mean something, at least to us. Even if it's to knock them out a second and put us in there, or put us in first if we can get fortunate enough to Belmont lose 2 more. Because we get they're going to at least lose 1 more, and that's when they come to Peoria.
We got some big home games coming down the stretch. We got ISU at home, we got Belmont at home, we got Murray at home. Like, I mean, what that says that 3 of the last 4 home games or 5? 4 or 5. I don't know how many home games are
Chance
left.
to make a statement, chance to finally take that leap, and we'll see if they can do that. Guys, you have anything else to close out before we let everybody get on with their, what is it, Monday night?
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
You're good. Oh, wonderful.
Excellent. Wrapping up.
So no, just love the Braves, fuck Drake, and looking forward to getting a couple W's this week.
That's right. Couldn't have said it any better, folks. Hope this finds everybody well and safe. As always, we thank you for coming, and we will see you next time. This is Braves Talk.